Hello and welcome to episode number 28 of Just Chillin'. I am one of your hosts, Sean Hoffman.
And I am your other host, Andy Bell.
How's it
How you
going,
doing,
Andy?
buddy?
No, I asked
Oh,
you first. I asked you first.
it's going well. It's going well. It's a bit of a tough week. Lots of stuff going on at work. Deadlines. Meanwhile, the rest of I mean, I in my job I cover Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So an awful lot of the region is currently away on leave at the moment. So deadlines aren't particularly helpful when the rest of the region is away on holiday. So yeah, it's a bit tough, little bit stressful, but uh, all good. We're surviving, and this is the pinnacle of my week where I can not think about work and just talk about some mundane, trivial shite like we normally do with my buddy.
You hear that, everybody? I am the pinnacle of Andy's week. Not you guys, me. I am. It's me right here. Everybody else is second place. Besides Lucy, of course. And your children.
Oh, I don't know. Don't beat yourself up. So, my friend, what have you been up to the last week?
Well, first of all, I need to start off with an apology. I'm gonna be proactive with an apology here, because I know that you have. I believe I could be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong. I believe you have a very special date coming up, pretty soon. Something
Yes.
like a birthday or something that's coming up, and I have to apologize because your gifts aren't going to be there on your birthday.
Oh, dude, you didn't. I didn't expect
I don't care.
anything, but yes, it's my birthday on Friday.
Yeah,
The girls are coming. The girls are
it's your
coming back.
28th birthday. Happy 28th birthday.
It's my no. I wish I could say it was, but yeah, this year I'm turning 40, which is really depressing. Really depressing.
Over the hill.
So
You're right there.
yeah, yes, and if anyone can do the math, yes, I did have my eldest daughter when I was 14. But no, I'm. It's not a big birthday this year, but it's my birthday on Friday, and we're gonna try and take some time out as a family, and I'll tell you about that later. But no problem, man. You didn't have to in any way have to.
I'm excited to share with you what they are,
it.
or I could just wait until they get there. So,
Let's wait. I like surprises, dude. I really like surprises. I really do.
Other than that, I've been Turbo was talking to me about decks, so I figured I should give a deck update. The railing and stuff is almost done. I'm waiting for a couple things.
This is Deck Watch with Sean.
Just decking. But I have loved it, dude. It's so I'm not done, but I a couple days over the last week, I've just spent outside on working outside on this so the end of Mando season the one season 3 I think where Mando and Grogu are sitting outside the hut and there's a chair, he's sitting in a chair. They sell those chairs at a store called a big box store called Costco here. We actually already had them, and so I sit out there in my Mando chair on my half finished deck and just work, and it's dude, I love it. I love every minute of it. It's so it's making it worth it. So I've been doing that. Yeah, other than that, just still hosting hikers every once in a while, and working on deck and watch some things, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot else going on. Yeah.
Well, my deck update is that we've got some. I think you already know. We've got some things going on in the house. I'm having some nice cupboards and wardrobes built into the house that are permanent, proper job going on at the moment, which isn't cheap. And the guy that's doing it for me is also the guy that originally did the decking for me when we had the original changes to the house, and he took one look at them, and I showed him the same patch of decking that I fell through or the last week or the week before, and he took one look and said, should we just fuck it off and pave it? And I was like, yes, I like the way you talk, my friend. I know it's going to cost me more in the meantime, but trying to look to save this is just, it's not even worth it. So yeah, we're currently thinking about how we're going to work it out. But now that we've kind of decided between us that decking was not such a great idea, and I think a lot of it is down to the quality of the wood that's accessible in the UK. It's meant to be Norwegian, like Norwegian stuff, but it's not great. It has not been great, and it hasn't weathered at all, despite me oiling it every year. God, listen to us. So nothing finer than two gentlemen talking about oiling decking. Anyway, despite that, it's like it's not even worth it. So we're just working out some plans. But the good news is I don't have to worry about it until next year. There's bigger fish to fry in the house at the moment, so
Nice.
I'll worry about that later. But outside of my decking news, which is pretty limited, I went to an 80s night at the weekend. It was something that Lucy wanted to do with our friends, our friends, and her friends. And it was an 80s night, and basically what it was there's a very large kind of outdoor event
Lots of
set up
cocaine.
close to us, about 10, 20 miles away. And it's used for particular events, and they have dance nights, they have bands playing there. Anyway, this happened to be a DJ night, but the DJ was a guy called Martin Kemp. Now, I'm not expecting you to know who Martin Kemp was, but he was the bass player of a band in the 80s called Spandau Ballet, who made a bit of a name for himself after the band broke up in the UK in UK soap opera, in a UK soap opera called EastEnders. Anyway, the point being, he's a nice enough guy, and he's put his hand now to DJing. So what? And when I mean he's put his hand to DJing, he'll put on, because he's from an 80s band, he'll charge a venue 20 or 30 grand to turn up, to look cool, to look handsome, and spin a few decks with old 80s music, which of course was right up Lucy's alley, and she enjoyed every minute of it. I didn't have so much fun, but what I did do while we were there was I discovered axe throwing. I don't know if you've ever tried axe throwing before.
I had.
And I know I'm quite long in the tooth, but it's something that I knew existed. But good God, it's so much fun. It is so much fun. Axe throwing. I never thought something so relatively simple and primitive could be such a laugh. I mean, probably the wrong activity to do when you've had a few drinks. But goodness me, what good fun! And I think honestly, it's probably the most favourite little activity I've discovered in the last couple of years. It's brilliant. And I will be going back. Well, not there, but to another axe throwing venue soon.
You got to diversify, try a
it's
different place, see if they got a little bit different experience.
So is it? I'm assuming it's the same as you guys, whereby you've got basically a target range that's been set up with a bunch of very, very large targets. So you just literally throw axes at them, and there doesn't seem to be much regulation. Talking to Turbo, he was telling me that they need to do breath tests and the rest of it, certainly over in Oz. So they're a little bit more, should we say, sensitive or careful when it comes down to liability. But yeah, what a laugh.
They're not doing breathalyzer tests or anything here, or at least not any ones that I've been to. It's more of a sign the waiver, and they're not going to let you do it if you're like stumbling ash drunk. But if you've had some drinks, because they're always in touristy areas, so like they expect everybody to have at least a couple. But it's a pretty heavy waiver that you sign. And then they're also watching people. Like there is a a no messing around kind of atmosphere and policy about it. Like,
Right.
don't be in the lane, don't be in the lanes, don't be farting with people, stuff like that. But no, it's other than that, it's still pretty loose. At least the ones that I've been to.
Sweet. Okay. Just don't kill
Speaking,
yourself, and
yeah,
if you do kill yourself, you've already signed a waiver to say it's not our fault.
yeah,
Pretty much.
go bleed outside.
Yeah.
Speaking of DJs, I had a question for you. I don't know if you've listened to the latest episode of the Sackhoff Show, or Katie Sackhoff, whatever the hell it's called, where she speaks with the dude from the Mandalorian. What is his
No.
name?
No, I haven't. I haven't listened yet.
Well, it's the guy who's in the Mandalorian, who's in like 4 episodes. He's one of the other Mandos. He's kind of grumpy, and then they get like he doesn't want to follow her, and then he does the thing at the end. I don't know. You'll listen to it, but apparently he used to be a DJ in like
Oh wow.
back in the day in like the 90s in the UK. Apparently was pretty popular. He used to travel when he was like pretty young, and I was like, oh, I wonder if Andy knew who he was. But yeah, maybe when you give that a listen.
He's the one that was with Cosca Reeve, right?
I believe so. I could be wrong, but I believe that's who he was from my
Okay.
general.
I don't recognize him. But then again, back in my day, I probably wouldn't have recognized many things. So I'll have a quick look. But yeah, apart from that, man, it's all been work. It was, like I said, a nice weekend. Wasn't particularly up for the event itself, but ended up becoming a good evening with this new little fun little activity that I've found for myself going forward. The only other thing I wanted to say was little bit of clarification. I'm not sure if it's needed or not, but a little bit of clarification on last week. And it's not a problem. It's no big deal at all. But I was talking a little bit last week about what I've been watching, and one of the things that I've watched was a series called Dairy Girls, which of course is, you recall is the series of a bunch of school children that were, or school girls, sorry, that are brought up during the Troubles in Ireland. And I talked about a convent, them being them attending a convent. For those of you guys outside the UK, of course they're not nuns. So a convent typically is where nuns hang out. But in the UK, we also have convent schools. So a lot of these convents, the nuns are actually, as their job, or they're part of their role is to teach children as well. And so there's an awful lot of schools that are affiliated with convents, and as such, we call them convent schools. So just want to clarify my vocabulary there. And in fact, just to make sure that I'm not going mad, I checked the English dictionary. And for anyone that doesn't understand the normal ramblings of this crazy old fart, convent school is a school in which the teachers are nuns. It's that simple. So hopefully that will explain where I was coming from, and I apologise if I created any confusion. But apart from that, man, it was a relatively quiet. It's been a relatively quiet week, which I'm grateful for, bearing in mind how battered I am with work at the moment.
Nice. It does sound like it's been a bit warm there though, right? Yeah, I feel like people have been saying
Yeah, it's around 90 degrees. In your flavour, it's about 90 degrees at the moment, which is, and I think I've spoken about this before, we're not very well prepared for it. I mean, luckily we live in a little bit of an older house, in which case it's got quite thick walls, in which case it's cool inside. But of course, I'm speaking to you from the garden room, the garden office or the shed that I had built out in the garden during COVID, and it's balls hot. It's really, really hot. Not only does it look like a sauna, it feels like one at the moment. So if you do hear a little bit of whirring in the background, that is a as big a fan as I could find in our house. Currently tickling my bare skin with a nice cool breeze.
I don't like the way you phrase that, but I'll let it slide. But yeah, I can't hear the fan, so
Good.
I think you're good.
You don't know where it is.
Like that, yeah. Now we're just okay. We're gonna go back to that. Uh,
No. We're all
yeah,
good.
yeah.
We're all good.
My week's been pretty uneventful too. I did forget to say that with my deck update that I've been you'd enjoy it. I should set up a camera because I've also been fighting some bees. They
Nice.
they really want to get in the house. They really want to they love our old wood siding and they're like, let me in there. I want to make something in it. I want to eat your wood siding. And our pest people don't come out for another week or two. So it's been like me and the bees. Like I'm working on deck fighting the bees. But in case you didn't know, California is usually pretty strict about the type of pesticides, agricultural products, things
Yeah.
you can buy. And plus, carpenter bees aren't like they're not necessarily a really bad thing, unless they're personally inside your own home.
Yeah.
So they don't actively really want you to, just wipe them all out with really bad chemicals. So it's hard to get good chemicals here. And so it's really kind of this back and forth with me and the bees and the neighbors all driving by, watching me with a broom. And it's a good old time. I'll have to
You've
send you
also
some
had
videos.
An encounter with a
Oh
larger
God.
creature as
Yeah.
well. Which do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. I can talk about that. Because I think I messaged you right after it happened.
Yeah.
So when I'm outside doing stuff, I'm usually have these big dumb headphones on that are like noise canceling. So I can't hear a freaking thing. I couldn't hear a dump truck about to run me over. And so it was early in the morning. I happened to go outside and I think I was moving some boards around that I was going to be like planing down and stuff like that. And I happened to have my back turned, and I when you get that like feeling like something's something's watching you, or you're just like, I don't know, something's off. So you just kind of like, what? You turn around. So that happened to me. And I turned around and I was maybe 10 feet away from like a mama bear, trying to sniffing around my big metal bear bin where we keep our trash cans out by the road. And she's just sniffing. And I kind of screamed, like a kind of like really loud screamed, so loud I could hear him through my own headphones. And I was, because I'm not normally afraid of these bears. Like they're not grizzly bears, to be clear. They're not like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant, like, oh, they're gonna knock me around and drag. It's like a whole thing. They're not those. They're like smaller black bears, and they're usually pretty skittish. That is not the case.
Well, you've sent me films before of you and your neighbors exchanging, having a conversation across the road while these bears are kind of hanging out with you guys. So I guess they're not a concern for you guys. Yeah.
You really don't want them to get your trash, not because like they're gonna get you, but like there's nothing like, there's no worse feeling than like your own trash being strewn across the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So you're like, I already put it in the trash bag. I really don't want to go pick it back up again and put it back in a trash bag, especially if it's in like a neighbor's yard. Yeah, so they're pretty transient. They'll wander around, but no, I was too close. But I am afraid of the moms, because they do not like you being anywhere close to their cubs. And the cubs are absolutely stupid. They are the dumbest. They are so dumb. Like, because they are just like, people, stuff, let's go in your garage, let's climb let's go. I think one video I sent you that one day, like one of the cubs like went up to my neighbor who was standing outside and it's like, kind of watching him, and the cub just went like right up to him, was like sniffing him. It's like, dude, you need to go away from where you are, because I think a lot of people don't realize about bears. They are very fast. They are very good climbers, like not like it's kind of funny, like seeing them like, oh, you just scaled like an 8-foot fence in like a second and they're gone. And they are very fast. So I was very scared. Cause I'm like, because as soon as you see the mom, and you can kind of tell when they're moms, you're like, oh shit, where are the kids? Like, where are the babies? Are they at my feet? Am I in between them? What is happening? And I'm too far away from the door. So you just kind of like, yell and then go shuffle, 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 shuffle in the house. And then you go up on the deck, back to the deck. You go up on the deck and then you take video from up above, which they can still get up there if they want to, but I at least have a couple seconds to get away. But yeah,
And
it scared the crap out of me.
You fix decking so you don't fall through it, because that would not be a good ending. You know, that would not be a good conclusion to this whole thing. It's like, damn it, if only I'd fixed the decking.
It's like a shark pit. Like you'd fall through the hole and like, now you're down there with the bears. Haha, idiot. Yeah. That's so now there's no holes in it. But yeah, that scared the crap out of me. Because I was not
surprised, man.
And then, yeah, but the babies weren't close. They were across the street eating the neighbor's like bush. The same neighbor who got sniffed by one. I don't like. You need to get rid of those bushes, or unless you like the bears in your bushes, then. Anyways, that's bear talk. We've had the deck update. We've had the bear update. We've had the bees. I'll update you next week on the bees. I'm making it sound more wild than it really is. It's really just my old house, like just being a really easy target for just a lot.
Hey, listen, it's exciting. The biggest excitement I've had this week is trying to slip in the word anonymity in every single conversation I've had at work to try and practice, and that I can actually pronounce the word correctly in the future. So, in relative terms, if we're talking about excitement, you win this week, my friend. Okay, so news. What about news this week? Obviously, we had San Diego Comic-Con, and I must admit, I did speak to. I'll talk about it later on about what I've been watching, listening, and reading to. But I did spend some time with the Star Wars Spelt Out crew this morning, which was really good because I needed that break. I really needed that break at the work at that moment in time when Josh said, "Hey, are you in your lunch break? Do you want to join us?" I'm like, "Yes, man, I do. I need to talk about anything else but work at this moment." And so it's good talking to them. And I didn't perhaps realize, and perhaps I misinterpreted some of the stuff being talked about in our Discord from Brit in particular. I didn't realize there was very, very little Star Wars news. I mean, there are a few things going on, but apart from novels and merch, including the Hasbro stuff, the figures, I didn't realize that there was absolutely nothing planned for SDCC in terms of forward looking. And we were talking this morning about, when are we going to see something for Skeleton Crew? And we'll talk about that in a second, because there has ironically something come out today. When is there something for Andor? And what happens after that? And while we can assume, Ahsoka season 2, hopefully the Acolyte season 2, Mando season 4, if not a bleak film. I don't know what's going on there. We don't have really an awful lot, and I think the guys were telling me that we're pretty much hopeful on D23 to kind of, not D24 for reference, but D23 to kind of update us there. But I was really surprised there was no news whatsoever. I didn't know. I didn't perhaps. Again, I think I misinterpreted what was being said in the Discord. But also, I'm somewhat a bit surprised. But there is some news.
So on that note, like, because I've been thinking about this quite a bit from San Diego Comic-Con, especially after our conversation last week, where I was kind of like, I don't think anything's going to come from Star Wars, and then I was like, I kind of said that in the moment, but then I kept thinking about it, and it's like, you know what? Especially with how San Diego Comic-Con came out, which we're going to get into, I feel like Star Wars is kind of taking on the Marvel pattern, and I think there's like a 2-year difference right now, and I think we're kind of stepping into that. It's like, yeah, we're going to continue to get shows, but they're not going to be there. It's kind of like maintaining the IP a little bit and like kind of keeping things going, but it's not the big stuff. And it's like, so like how we saw with Marvel ramping up, like it's still, we still got some time before a lot of it comes, but it's like, I think we're going to start seeing that kind of with Star Wars in another year or so. Like, not that the content that we're getting is not good. I love it. I'm excited for it. But I think they're kind of letting the engines cool a little bit, kind of following that same Marvel pattern of like, all right, we had some stuff. Let's follow that pattern. Let's let it kind of sit back in the pocket a little bit. Let's keep our shows rolling, keep people interested, keep the storylines moving. But then we're gonna hit them heavy with some big stuff like in another year or so. Maybe we'll get some more stuff in Celebration in Japan, ramping up. But I don't think we're gonna get like the big stuff for it until like the following Celebration, which kind of sucks. But at the same time, it's like there is a little brand burnout, I'm sure, for most people. Like we're obviously way deeper fans, so we're like, give me more now. I want it all the time. But like from a practical side of things, it's like maybe this will be a good thing so that they can kind of reset, find their center, build the big wave or phase of things, and really kind of rock and roll with it. Because it like if similar to what Marvel's. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say I was going to wait until later on when we talked about what little Skeleton Crew news we've got, and but I will talk about it now, and it's something that I talked to the guys about this morning again. Is that I feel quite good about what we've had and what we're going to get, and does some of it land with me? Does everything land with me? No, of course it doesn't, because what I like about what they're doing is they're trying to curate a really, really broad palette of stuff that appeals to the 6-year-olds, the 7-year-olds, the 8-year-olds, all the way up to the 50-year-olds, like myself. And it's like, and I don't know, maybe my brain's not wired properly, but I don't quite understand the concept of everything being focused on the same demographic, everything being focused in appealing to the same people. But because when you do that, you limit your what we call a TAM, or a total attainable market in business. You limit yourself, and you've got, it's like going into, I don't know, it's like going into a bar. You say,
to flip it around, you can't get more money out of existing customers. It's like, so let's expand and get more.
Yeah. So it's not about, but it's not only about, expanding your market. It's also appealing to everyone within a family.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you walk in, you're not going to serve yourself. You're not going to serve your 12-year-old daughter liquor. You're not going to serve her liquor. You'll serve the old man and in the family, maybe a whiskey or something, but you certainly wouldn't. You'd offer a milkshake, or. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to generalize here a little bit, but you understand what I mean. It's that you have to appeal to all tastes and all. And I think that one of the things that come out of this, because this morning's chat with Josh and the guys was really all about, what do we feel when we've cut now that the Acolyte is over, and how do we feel about the state of Star Wars at the moment? And I feel quite good, and I love the fact that the next one, we're going from quite a thought-provoking and deep, and extremely deep and mythological story in the Acolyte, and we're going to a very, very simple Ambling-esque, adventure with Skeleton Crew, and I'm up for all of it. And it's and if I'm not, but I won't be switched on by all of it, if that makes sense, because the stuff that I'm not switched on to, or the stuff that doesn't resonate with me, probably wasn't designed for me in the first place. Anyway,
flip it on its head. Like, I think it helps strengthen the brand. Kind of what you're saying. Like let's take case in point, like Marvel. Marvel has had a lot more time and experience with expanding the scope of the brand and the markets and things like that. And I think Star Wars has just started to get into that over the last X many years of like, Forces of Destiny, the Star Wars kid shows and things like that, really kind of catering to that younger market. Marvel's had Spider-Man cartoons, all of the young kid cartoons for as long as I've been around. So, and now they're really starting to branch out with their different kind of adult television instead of just kind of that generic thing. And I think Star Wars is following that same thing too. So it's like I'm a huge fan of it. I'm really excited for Skeleton Crew, not because I think it's going to be thought-provoking Star Wars, but I think that simplified. Like I'm excited to see it enter a new market, and so I think this is all really really good, and I'm hoping they continue that trend of like not just making trilogy movies. Like those are
Yeah.
awesome, but I'm the demographic. I know I am. Like continue to make cartoons or YouTube shorts or game shows or
Yeah.
mythological stuff. I think this is awesome. I love it. Pretty cool.
Yeah, me too. So we'll talk a little bit about Skeleton Crew in a second because actually, yeah,
It
let's
comes
talk
out
about
December 3rd.
Skeleton.
I got it
Yeah. Yeah. Not only that, but in terms of San Diego Comic Con itself, what did you pick up while it was on? And I must admit, I've got a bunch of things that I've seen or read in the last 24, 48 hours, and I can't actually work out whether it's part of San Diego Comic Con or something very, very different. So, for example, the Skeleton Crew news came out today, and I'm not sure if some of the other stuff I've got or seen is also in addition to San Diego Comic Con. So I'll let you kick off first.
So San Diego Comic Con from this is kind of it's not really news, but it's kind of sounds like more of experiential. From what I've heard from people, it sounds like it was absolute chaos, like in a good way and a kind of a bad
Oh,
way.
wow.
Just from people I know that have went, but obviously that's conventions. In terms of like the news that came out, I'll be honest, their Marvel coverage was really really good. Like for how little information that they gave out, and for somebody like me who was never a huge Marvel comic reader, like I'm excited for the future of Marvel. Even though we're kind of like in the weeds a little bit with some of these movies coming out. Like, so for those who don't know, 2 Avengers movies. There's the Avengers Secret Wars. There's the Avengers Doomsday, new one that's coming out before the setup for Secret Wars, where they announced Robert Downey Jr. coming back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Doomsday, which is I think it's kind of cool because it's like, oh, cool, we're going to get like TVA. I imagine probably like a bad Tony Stark alternate universe version, which I think would be kind of cool. Plus, that brings Madison to the movie theater or makes her watch the movie because she's a big Robert Downey Jr. fan. Like the Thunderbolt stuff with all the wacky people. Seeing Giancarlo Esposito as like the main villain of Captain America: Brave New World. With like the Serpent Society stuff, I think that's cool. And the biggest shocker was I'm actually excited for the Fantastic Four
I'm so glad you said
movie.
That. I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that. I've been holding this in while you've been talking. I'm so glad you said that because me too, buddy. Me too.
Because that's a franchise. I'm like, all the other movies are like, they're just like not great. And like I think that's always led me to feel like Fantastic Four is just kind of like a blah kind of like group and franchise stuff. And everyone's like, oh, they're the first family, blah, blah, blah. And so when they announced that they're redoing it again, it's like, oh God, like move on. But that like after some of the stuff that's come out and like the fact that you can tell they're really trying to do it right this time.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
And the aesthetic and stuff. It's like, okay, I'm getting behind this. This is cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
I love this shit. It's like it's like an awful lot of the genre. I don't know what the genre is called, but it's like an awful lot of the sci-fi or the fantasy or the stuff that really appeals to me at the moment, which is kind of like an alternative take on the past. I love
like
that. I love that
retro kind of like 50s
advance. Yeah. It's like, like high tech made out of Bakelite. I love that shit, man. I absolutely love that. And looking at the visuals,
Fallout minus the bomb part.
It's exactly. It's so goddamn beautifully campy. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And like you, the other stuff looks great. It's good to see Harrison as the first glimpse of him as the Red Hulk, and certainly his presence on stage looks like he's really, really psyched. I have to admit, we are a positive podcast. the announcement of Robert Downey Jr. left me confused, and the only that's the salt shaker, right? Is that the salt shaker?
Yeah, that's a salt shaker.
Don't worry, I'm not going to be grinding it today. Anyway, the point being is one thing. I have my concerns that the powers that be at Marvel have reached the conclusion that phases 2 or 3, whatever it's called, I think it's phase 3, which was, or even maybe phase 4. Anyway, the Marvel universe after Endgame hasn't delivered what they wanted or what they expected, and so therefore they're taking I wouldn't say a back step, but they're building themselves a safety blanket by bringing in old faces to establish a new era, as it were. If the story is good and there's an explanation, and it's simply not a case of Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom, and there being no explanation whatsoever, then I'm okay. I guess I'm okay with it. And like we always say, if it's done right, I'm in. I'm in.
That's fair. Yeah,
but
that's
I
fair.
hope there's some really, really clever. I hope there's some really, really clever writing associated with it. I hope there's an explanation associated with it. I really hope it's maybe not a multiverse reason or a reason for the multiverse, because we'll talk a little bit about our experience with Deadpool in the last week or so, but even they parody the fact that the multiverse has been done to death now. Let's kind of call it a day.
I feel like the TVA is here to stay, and it's like
yeah.
I don't feel like there's any way they can get away without doing that.
Okay.
But maybe we'll see what happens.
Maybe. But I'd like to, I want to keep an open mind. I'm certainly not going to be judging what's going on online and without actually seeing it. I'm not that stupid. But yeah, if it's done right, I'm up for anything like that. But like you said, the one thing that I was least looking forward to, because it hasn't been done particularly well in recent years, but the one that gets me really excited is this new take on Fantastic Four, because they're going back to the original Fantastic Four. They're going back to the aesthetic. They're going back to the campiness. They're not trying to hardcore the whole thing up. They're not trying to modernize the whole thing. It's exactly where it needs to be. And I love that. I love that. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It could be, it doesn't even have to, it didn't even have to be a Marvel movie, but the whole premise of this modern take on the 1960s, like a future past. I love that.
Oh yeah,
that whole premise. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm excited. I'm excited that like I saw some of the footage online from like bootleg shit. And it's like, yeah, seeing like Galactus was cool. I'm excited because I know they cast I forgot her name, the girl from Ozark that I always quote as like the Silver Surfer. It's like, oh dude, this one's gonna be a trip. Like I bet that's gonna be so cool.
And the idea that they're casting a female Silver Surfer as well is beautiful.
Oh yeah, I'm
absolutely beautiful. I love it. Only for if only for shits and giggles. I'm up for that because it's going to get people talking. I have a bunch of other stuff as well, but I don't know if it's part of San Diego Comic-Con. So the only thing I actually picked up as part of San Diego Comic-Con on top of that, knowingly, I might have done other stuff mistakenly, was the merch coming out of Hasbro, and of course, in particular, they've confirmed in the Black Series, they've confirmed as a future release my boy Kelnaka, and I can't remember anything else because as soon as I saw that, I was kind of done and fed. So, did you pick up anything else?
No. I did see a panel about squishmallows, those giant squishy pillows, and I just laughed about it because it reminded me of going to Celebration with our buddy Andy Campbell, one of the Andys, going to the Micro Galaxy Squadron panel where they showed all the upcoming releases and like a room full of people just being overly excited, and I could just picture that for like Squishmallows, being like, "Oh,
Yeah.
it's gonna be Nightmare Before Christmas Squishmallows," and people being like, "Yeah, yeah, let's go, Jeff Skellington, let's fucking go!" And so it just gave me funny flashbacks to that. But other than that, no. I remember seeing them. I think I'm just so out of the Black Series game anymore because, as you can see, my office is full.
Yeah. Likewise, and I've got no interest in any of them apart from this particular one because I have to do the Wookiees. The only other thing I picked up in the news was, and again, I don't know whether it was part of the ancillary or the other studios as part of their presentation, but let me just run past what I've seen in the last week or so in terms of news. So Star Trek, there's a couple of our buddies that are really, really heavy Trekkies or Trekkers, depending on their location. And really excited that Brave New Worlds, which I found really, really interesting, although I wouldn't call myself a Trekker in any way or Trekkie in any way. I found it quite great in that it kind of picked up on that vibe and that again, that vibe and that kind of the the aesthetics, sorry, of the original series. And they're coming out with season 3, which is great, and the stories are great, absolutely fantastic. And then on top of that is Section 31, which is, if you like, a spin-off of the Discovery series that they had running, that is now concluded, I believe, over recent episodes, which follows the mirror universe version of a particular person, and I can't remember her name at this moment. But that looks exciting. It's a little bit like Black Ops, Starfleet Black Ops, which looks exciting, and a little bit like, not only Black Ops, but let's say the Suicide Squad. So it's basically a team of Starfleet which is undercover. They're a little bit bad. They're a little bit edgy. They don't follow the rules, and that's quite exciting for something that is typically squeaky clean as Star Trek. I saw the Rings of Power trailer. I don't know if you saw that, but the Rings of Power looks really good. I know that you're particularly excited about that coming out on Prime. So
I did not see it, but I am excited for it.
Looking forward to that. I saw the Joker 2 or Folie à Deux trailer, which is the second film with Joaquin Phoenix. Is it Joaquin Phoenix?
Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga.
Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga. That looks good. I must admit, the original Joker really resonated with me. It's a lovely, it's an amazing piece of art, but good God, it's a traumatic film. I mean, it's not. It's almost like how I felt about walking away from, I don't know, Seven. It's not one of those films that it's really, really quite dark and really. I mean, regardless of who he plays, it really is an analysis of mental health and, let's say, the inappropriate or insufficient facilities that the Western world accommodates for mental health, and it really left me quite hollow. While I thought he very much deserved his Oscar, and I thought it was an amazing film, and I will definitely go and see this film in the cinema. It's gonna be if it's anything like the first one, it's gonna be I wouldn't say it's a fight, but it's gonna be hard work to get through it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's a somber watch. I love that film. I just hate the people that gravitated towards it and made it something that it wasn't. That's my biggest issue
Yeah.
with it. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want to say it, the weaponization of it, but the people who have misconstrued the stuff that was I believe was meant to be taken away from it and have made it into this kind of like shitty bumper sticker of like making a
yeah,
statement of like I'm an edgelord, whatever.
yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you
Not a
mean.
fan.
No, I know what you mean, and it was. I'm absolutely sure the intent was completely the opposite to that, which was this is not about glorification. This is about it's a social commentary on just how inadequate our mental health system is. Anyway, moving on from that.
To that point, I do believe that that's one of the reasons why they made it a musical or have musical elements is like where it was taken. I'm like, all right, well, the next one we're gonna make a musical because let's see you kind of co-opt
Yeah,
that.
you guys are gonna get you guys are gonna run a mile. Yeah, no, I think it's good trolling. I really do.
Yeah, I love
I
every minute
really
of it.
really do.
I did get some
And
breaking
then
news from our buddy Turbo, by the way.
oh, sorry. Yeah, go on.
The Oscar Mayer Wienermobile is coming to South Lake Tahoe in 2 weeks. Let's
Excellent.
go. Very exciting.
Excellent.
That's the best news I've got all day.
Has that just come in?
Literally, that's what I was looking at my phone at. Like, the Wienermobile's coming. I hope it's
So
we
should have a slot in this. We should have a Turbo watch. We should have Turbo watch. Breaking news from Turbo. We need to do. Oh, mate, we need to do some like a bulletin. We need to have a bulletin snip. Breaking news from Turbo. Yeah, I like that.
The Wienermobile's coming to South Lake Tahoe. End of Turbo.
And then the last. Now we'll resume your normal service. Now the last bit of the last bit of news I picked up on this week, and again I haven't picked up on anything at all. And again, I've got no idea whether it's part of SDCC or whether it's something that I've just picked up in along the way. We already know that the next series of The Boys will be the last series of The Boys. And yet the spin-off, which is Generation V or Gen V, so yeah, it's Gen V, isn't it? That will carry on, I believe, as will another spin-off, which is also set in the 60s. So hey, I'm getting everything I want at the moment. And the idea being of this spin-off essentially is it sets up the early days of Voight, when they come out with Compound V and when they come up with Compound V in the first instance, and I believe that Soldier Boy and all those guys, it's essentially their time. So I'm looking forward to that, and if it's done right, it will be really really nice to complement it as we prepare ourselves coming to the end of the mainline series. So that's kind of what I picked up in the news. And again, I got no idea which order I picked it up in, but I did make my notes during the week. What about watching, listening, and reading? How's your week been?
I mean, I haven't watched a lot. I did finish blazing through The Boys season 4, and I watched Deadpool and Wolverine, but we'll talk about those in a minute because I know you have too. But before that, I have been, besides the deck, I've been working on my model a little bit. I know it's not really, it kind of fits in this category of like, what have I been doing? But not necessarily about the model, but I've been chitty chatting with some of our buddies over at the Scruffies, and I think we might have a special bonus episode coming very, very soon. So be on the lookout for that.
Well, that would be cool because I do struggle every now and again just trying to hold this whole podcast up. So it'd be nice for somebody else to finally do a little bit of heavy lifting and some work. That would be good.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna make some jokes about other people being able to get a word in edgewise, but I've already teased you enough before we started recording, so I'm not gonna. Even though I still just kind of said it. So whatever.
Do you honestly think I'm going to be able to contribute to that? I mean, I want to be there because I want to speak to the boys, but it'd be like every 30 minutes, it would be like, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Should I just
I
record?
can't
Should I just record
contribute.
you saying like, "Wow, that's crazy. Wow."
Yeah,
And just like
let's do that.
sprinkle
Do
them
that.
in.
Let's make a soundboard up, and I can just then go on mute and just drink a bottle of wine while I'm listening to you guys wax lyrical.
Wow.
Okay, that's really cool. No, really, really. I mean, I'm in awe of you guys and what you guys do. So I'm really excited about that. That's coming up as well, amongst other things. Hopefully, if all the planets align and we get our
People
shit together.
Stop big timing us.
In the
They
next
got to
couple
stop
of weeks.
big timing us.
I know. We've got to stop being so damn successful. Just be losers like us, please. So like you, I already had watched the end of season 4, so we'll talk about that in a second of the boys. I went to see Deadpool and Wolverine at the cinema, and I'll talk about we want to use that as our major talking point this week. I did watch. I was left on my own for a couple of hours the other night, and every now and again I'm allowed to be left on my own. And I watched the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare from Guy Ritchie. I'm a fan of some Guy Ritchie films. I like a lot of his, kind of like, I don't want to call it Britpop, but his kind of London, his stuff based in London, like Snatch and Lock Stock. I love that kind of stuff, and there's some other stuff that I really like as well of his. But I watched Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, based on a true story of a bunch of, if you like, secretive and off the radar operatives that were quite bad, working for the Allies, mainly British, but during World War II, that did some very nefarious missions, which meant an awful lot of bloodshed and under the radar stuff that, if you like, the Ministry of Defence didn't sanction, or it certainly wasn't sanctioned by any real hierarchy within the UK. Plausible deniability, all that shit. And it's a good film. I really, really enjoyed it. Very, very, very much akin to Inglourious Bastards, in that it's got kind of like I would say a modern take. It's very much, the aesthetics are very much of its time, but the dialogue is very modern or very contemporary. And it's a good film. It's a good film. It's a little bit copycatty in places of Inglourious Bastards, but bearing in mind that I loved Inglourious Bastards so much, I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. It's not as exquisitely edited, directed, and just generally put together as Quentin's film. But it's a really, really good film if you fancy something that's readily available. I believe I watched it on Netflix, and it's a good yarn for a couple of hours. House of the Dragon season 2. I'm up to date on that now. We've approached the end of season 2 now. I'm not going to give anything away in case you do get around to it, but it's quite funny.
Is it completely over now?
Yeah, it's still done now. So
nice.
We're looking forward to season 3 now, which will be the end of the series, knowing where it is at the moment in the books. But we shall see. They might be able to drag it out a little bit, like how Peter Jackson dragged out The Hobbit, although maybe that's not a good example, but you understand what I mean. Haven't been able to finish Dark Matter yet. The Ones Who Lived, Scrubs and Cobra Kai yet, simply because I haven't got around to it. What I've been listening to? Oh, sorry. One thing I did start to watch, and I want to talk to you about this offline, actually. But we're friends with everyone that listens, so I might as well tell you now. But I will also talk to you about it offline. We don't have a series for a while, so I was wondering if you would be interested in joining me in watching Time Bandits. If you have Apple Plus, if you have Apple TV, I can't get it back until tomorrow. So Time Bandits is if the Taika Waititi version of the original Terry Gilliam film, which I adore, and it's going to be a bitter. I hope it's not a bitter pill for me to swallow to watch it, because I obviously like the creator and everything else he's done for the small screen. I think has been superb. But it will be a new series that I'm going to watch with Ernest when I get Apple Plus back tomorrow. So if you're up for it, why don't we make that our ongoing? It's only an hour a week, so why don't we make that our ongoing homework or our study work to do before we hook up every week?
So since there's 10 episodes in the season, do you want to do like it looks like they release 2 at a time? You want to do 2 episodes at a time per show?
Well, let's just talk about it every week. It's a little bit like it's our surrogate Star Wars at the moment, and I think it's going to be when we don't have guests on. I think it's a good idea for us to be, watching something else rather than together, albeit on different sides of the Atlantic, but be watching it together, so we can talk about it the following week rather than stuff independently. So have a think about it anyway.
Let me rephrase that question. Andy, I have a spicy brain, and I need you to set an expectation of how many episodes I need to watch before next week, since there's already 4 that have been released.
Oh, shit.
Do I need to watch all 4, or do I need to watch 2? Actually, and there will be the 2 more will be released on Tuesday. So do I need to watch 6?
Oh, shit. How long are the episodes? See, I can't tell yet until I get Apple Plus back, or Apple TV back, sorry.
I think they are 40 minutes each, I think, roughly. I don't know. I'm not really looking at Apple TV.
Let's have a think about this offline. But I'm glad you're embracing at least the idea.
The answer is yes, I will do this. I just need to know how many do I need to watch. We could talk about that offline.
Shit, man. Shit, I screwed that one up again, didn't I? Anyway, okay, cool. The next one is that's kind of it in terms of what I've watched and stuff on telly and on the big screen. Listened to. I don't think I've ever. Well, first of all, thanks again to Josh and the team over at Star Wars Spelt Out. Cha-ching. Love you guys to bits, and I really have enjoyed joining them most weeks, apart from 2, to review the.
There's a couple weeks you didn't enjoy.
With what? Because I wasn't there? No, not at all. I love that pod anyway, and it's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be part of his review team. I'm just sad that it's come to an end, and hopefully we can do something when Skeleton Crew comes back. But the other thing that I have been listening to change things up a little bit, Josh actually, a few of our pods, I mean, one of them being the Bad Motivators, dropped off last year, or they ended last year, and it left me with a hole in my podcast listening repertoire for a while. And I reached out to Josh and said, "Hey, are there any podcasts that you really like that I should think to? That they're not hard work. That you can switch your brain off and just listen to it about pop culture beyond the usuals. The Sith List, Blue Harvest, etc., etc." And he said, "Have you checked out Weekly Planet?" And the Weekly Planet is a couple of Melbourne guys that are very light-hearted, a lot of fun, a heck of a lot of fun. Really don't take themselves seriously. And in fact, one of them is known online as Mr. Sunday Movies, and he's a very, very funny guy that's been very prolific on YouTube for quite a few years. But they do a spin-off, like an ancillary part of their podcast. I'm sorry, taking a step back. They talk about the same kind of stuff that we do, but they do it in a lot more structured way. It's structured. It's got an agenda. It's got an itinerary. They know exactly what they've been doing. They've been doing it for quite a while, and they're clearly really good professionals. But the kind of thinking behind their podcast or their vibe is kind of similar. I'd like to think as to ours, and they don't take themselves too seriously, and generally, in most cases, they see things positively. Anyway, they do an ancillary episode. So they record twice a week, or they publish twice a week, and there's a smaller version of the podcast called Caravan of Garbage, whereby they review films, and they could be the worst films in the world or the best films in the world. And at the moment, they're reviewing the Alien trilogy. The Alien quadrilogy. Because what they do really, really well is that they typically review old films in advance of a new version of that film, either a reboot or a spin-off or indeed a sequel coming up. And recently, for example, they reviewed all of the Wolverine films, and some they were very positive about, some they weren't particularly positive about, because as we all know, they very much varied in terms of their quality. The point I'm trying to make on the Alien stuff is that we are approaching August, whereby Alien Romulus is going to be launched, and they're currently going through their review. It's only a 20-minute or 25 or 30-minute snippet on their opinion of that particular movie. And I like these guys an awful lot. I don't talk about them enough. Again, our buddy Josh switched me on to them, and I really like the way that they get us ready, if you like. They almost establish a journey to a new film that's coming out in the cinema in the upcoming weeks, and I've really enjoyed their shtick. And that's kind of it. Apart from The Boys season 4, I'd love to know your opinion. And then obviously the main tent event, which is Deadpool.
So before we jump into The Boys, you talking about that pod reminded me of something I actually listened to that I wanted to give a shout out to. We all know our buddy Rick. I really enjoyed his latest episode of Jam Transmissions, where he had a special guest on from Force Center, Ken Knapsack. I did not listen to Force Center before this, but that episode I think came at a really, really good time with all the conversations about liking Acolyte, not liking Acolyte, liking Star Wars, not liking Star Wars. And I recommend everybody. I thought it was a really good episode. I thought there was a lot of really good conversation about growing with Star Wars, whether it's like I didn't like something yesterday, but then like learning to embrace other people's thoughts and opinions, or not having something be for you. And it was just, I don't know, there was just something about that episode. I even messaged him like when I finished it. I'm like, dude, killer episode. That was awesome. I thought there was some really good discussion about what Star Wars means to you and others, and things like that. I don't know. It was just, I can't speak intelligently about it because it's been a couple days since I've listened to it, but it was really, really good. And I highly recommend everybody go and take a little listen because it was good.
Cool, that's really good. No, I listened to it myself recently, and I thought that they approached the whole thing a particular way, which made me think about the way I engaged with the franchise in the first instance, the type of person I want to be as well, which I thought was very, very, very good indeed. I just realised I just made a faux pas during this this very same. Okay, so I have seen, by hook or by crook, and I won't go into too much detail, I have seen the finale of House of Dragon. It may not have actually been. It may not actually be on. It may not have been streamed yet.
Oh, you saw the leak. The leak that was going around.
Maybe.
I think you are among a lot of people.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Okay, I sorry. I just tried to. My old brain was trying to remember. Has it actually finished yet, or are we still on episode 7? Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it until you watch it anyway. So it doesn't really matter. Anyway, before we do go into Deadpool and the Boys, I forgot to talk about what we did here today. I should have don't know why I didn't pick this up in news. I did. I put a pin in it, and then I forgot all about it. Skeleton Crew. Basically, People, the website People or the publication People magazine, have had the first views of, or have some early shots of Jude and the kids. And it looks all fun and everything. And they seem to be interviewing Jude, who teases a childhood adventure. And there's a couple of Easter eggs in there. I haven't had a chance to read it in any way because our buddies literally made us aware of this on the Discord channel about 10, or me anyway, 10 minutes before we started recording. But it looks great. What I like about it is
that's about all I read. Like, ooh, December 3rd, nice.
Well, what I like about it is that is the first, when, I mean, Jude Law is, I mean, he's a bugger. He's an absolute bugger. He's a bad boy in his, or has been a bad boy in his private life, but I like him an awful lot. And he's written here, or he said here, the first word that comes to mind when describing the series is joyful, which I thought was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Again, I'm sure it'll upset a few people, but the fact that he's going in with that childlike kind of, or it seems to have that kind of childlike vibes to it, is great. He also says that seeing children in that environment, a Star Wars environment, repeated himself there, but it doesn't matter, is thrilling and very, very unique. It's a fun place to be, the universe of Star Wars, he adds with a smile, and there are great references to old films and recent episodes and series. There's a lot of originality, and I hope that will bring the feeling of fun to those who watch it. I won't go into any more detail. As I said, it's online, people.com, interview with Jude Law, probably the most we've had in terms of a snippet about Skeleton Crew until now, but it looks ace. I love that. I love a little bit of light-hearted bants. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Anywho, The Boys, Series 4, my friend.
The Boys.
What do you think?
I like binging this show. I like this show. This season was very current events-ish. I wish season 5 wasn't coming in 2026. I have the same kind of feeling about like this as I do like Stranger Things, where it's like Stranger Things is like the worst offender. Like, hey, what would be great is if you released a season more than once every 4 years. No, I really enjoyed it. I think, like, I'm not going to talk about the discourse because, one, I don't follow discourse. I just know there is discourse and I don't care. It feels like it's getting more substance. It's still just gruesome, violent, and all that. It's not any different that way. But I do enjoy, like, there's nothing that I look at this show and go like, I don't like that. The Ryan's voice is weird. Like, do they make him talk that way to make him seem young? But I know I just enjoy it. It's kind of like one of those like guilty pleasure shows where I'm like, I don't take it too seriously. I don't like go back and rewatch old episodes. I'm not like, well, what's the lore? Because I remember I did see something on there about on Reddit or somebody being like, why couldn't like Victoria Newman just pop Homelander's head? What's her actual power? It's like, who cares? I'm just consuming and I'm enjoying what I'm consuming. I don't dig too terribly deep into the like, well, what are Starlight's powers exactly? I'm in it for more of like the social commentary, but also kind of like I wonder how we're going to get out of this pickle kind of thing. It's just entertaining. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed season 4. Would I like to watch it week to week? Probably not so much. I mean, I'd probably still watch it and enjoy it, but I really like being able to sit down and just hammer through it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those. Like you, I watch it. I wouldn't say in the periphery, but in the peripheral, in the peripheral vision. But it's one of those ones that I watch and enjoy, and don't necessarily read into an awful lot. And so, therefore, 2 years later, when the next series comes out, I'm like, what the hell happened? And
Yeah.
unfortunately for me, um, I mean, it hasn't happened yet with The Boys, but it certainly happened with. I don't know if you ever heard of a series called Rings of Power, where I couldn't be bothered to remember, and so I didn't watch it.
Mm.
And that's kind of one of those things, and I'm sure that at the time, COVID had an awful lot to do with the scheduling, and obviously we've had the strike in the certainly last calendar year as well, and I'm sure that will play a big part. But with so much of a gap between properties that I don't I don't study the subtitles for, because
Yeah.
I'm not that vested. It's quite dangerous for me, but luckily The Boys I've stayed happy with. The one thing I would say is that, I'm sure I'm repeating myself from previous weeks, is that I'm kind of glad they're going to focus on a few spin-offs and they're calling it a day on the main line.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
It'll get long in the tooth if they don't.
and and that's only because I found that while I love a bit of violence and I love the violence, I felt that the the shock factor was, in many cases, in many episodes, because I watched them weekly, unlike you and Bim watched them, and I found that in some episodes that's all they had
Hmm.
to take the story forward, and it was like it used to be a perfect balance between really good storytelling and a progressive storyline, and all with this gorgeous veneer of blood and guts.
Hmm.
Whereas I felt, I wouldn't say they over index on the blood and guts this time round, but in some cases it's all they kind of had
Yeah.
to progress the storyline forward. I certainly don't subscribe to an awful lot of the criticism that's been getting online, where they're talking about it being a bit too political, because it's way too close to current events. It's like, have you not been watching the first 3 seasons?
Yeah.
You must have been absolutely on a different planet or watching a very, very different TV program to myself if you do not realize it's a parody of corporate, political, and, shall we say, extremist culture that's going on in the Western world these days. But no, I have enjoyed it, but I'm really glad that they've got a plan
Hmm.
to end this story, and
Because
that
otherwise
is not in any
it turns
way.
into a daytime soap if it not. Otherwise it's just like flavor of the week, just keep repeating the same
Well,
cycle. Like
I
it needs to have
love
an end.
I've loved the series. I don't want it to turn into The Walking Dead.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a perfect analogy of like
It's that simple, really.
don't stick around long enough. Yeah, for the
But
people
the but the
for
one
the criticisms about the politics stuff, it's like I don't understand why that's a criticism. It's like, oh, it's too political. It's like, does that make people I mean, not to dive into it, but it's like, does that make people uncomfortable and they don't like it? Like, is it like that clip from, I can't remember what it's from, where it's like the guy being like, wait, are we the baddies? Like, are we the like? I don't understand
oh,
why that's a
that's
criticism.
from a British soap opera that which were it was a sketch about two Nazi officers. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, also for those people that claim to be aficionados, because everyone's an expert these days, as you know. But those people that claim to be aficionados, they clearly have never read Watchmen. Very, they've clearly never read the Boys graphic novel either, or sorry, the
Mhm.
Boys comics as well, which are, that's exactly what they are. They are
Mhm.
exactly political and a social commentary on on greed and everything that's bad. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, no, my favorite episode though, and I wanted to talk to you about it last week, but I was going to wait until you'd seen it, was the farm episode, the day that they find themselves on the farm.
Ridiculous.
And it was like episode, 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 episode. blood guts, blood guts, blood guts, blood guts, flying sheep, and having flying sheep, where the laboratory is that they're trying to break into. I just thought that was my favorite, without a doubt, episode, probably of the entire series, simply because it was so batshit crazy. I laughed so hard on that one.
It is.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I love that episode too. It is kind of funny. Like, the more I think about the boys and like the seasons, it's like it reminds, like, there's like a pattern of the writing. It's like they get 6. It's a slow burn. I hate that phrase, but they have like 6 episodes in the season where it's like, oh, we're building up, and then they have like the last 2 written, and then they have like those 7 and 8 where they're like, okay, we don't really know how to bridge these first 6 with these last 2.
Yeah.
And so like those 7 and 8 are always just like, there's always a moment where I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what happened? Did I miss an episode? Because they're like, all right, we got to draw the lines from this pin to this pin. They're like, just make it happen. And it's funny. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like, I have a similar feeling about, like, I love Band of Brothers. I love that series. I love all those. But it's like when they get to like Bastogne and like the winter episodes, it's like, wait, what happened? Where'd all the people I knew? Where'd they go? What happened? It's the same kind of with this, where it's like episode 7.
Oh, is that when they get? Is that when they go up into Belgium? Is it not not Norway?
Like all the snowy parts.
Holland.
Like in the foxholes.
Like north. Also, so that's yeah. I know what you mean.
Like, what is going on? Did I miss an episode? And then it's like, no, you didn't. It's just we're moving things along now. Same. I think the boys always kind of has that same.
But that happened. But that happened, dude. You had an awful lot of the the Normandy landings of which or sorry, the D-Day landing, where an awful lot of them, once they got into France, they headed north up to Benelux, so Luxembourg, Belgium, and Holland, or Netherlands, sorry. And that happened, and they were like, "What are we doing? We should be marching on Berlin at this moment in time. We shouldn't be going this way." But no, I'm sorry. I'm tangent. Sorry, man. Really sorry.
That's all right. That's what a podcast is for, man. That's what we do this. I love tangent. And it's like the boys is like, there's always that same kind of thing. It's like because I kind of watch. I call it a laptop show because Madison has zero interest in watching this show. So it's like, oh, I watch it like on my laptop while I'm doing something else. And so it's like, I'll get to that episode, like right around that farm episode. I'm like, what the hell? Did I like miss something? Like, nope. We're rapidly approaching the end of the season. And it's not a criticism. It's just you can tell it's like that same kind of pattern of each season. It's like, shit, we got to get to the end. We got 4 episodes left. Like, we got to start connecting these dots. But no, I enjoyed it. I don't have any deeper, I hope we get, I'm glad there's one more season left. I hope we start wrapping some of this stuff up. I'm interested to see where they take some of the prequel stuff, because I know like it's supposed to be like Soldier Boy, and I don't remember what the Nazi lady's name was, but it's like Stormfront. It's like, okay, how are they gonna have, like, is she gonna be in it? Like, is it just gonna be like those two just being just racist the whole time? Like,
no, it needs to be. There needs to be a plot rather than if it's if the spin-off is to cushion the end of the mainline series, and the spin-off is to, and the plot is more blood, more violence, very little content, or very little story or plot, I'll be disappointed. But I can't see that. In that, if they're smart enough to know when to end it, they're smart enough to know that they've got substance for something else. I'd like to think so anyway.
Yeah, I hope so as well. But yeah, I'm excited for it. That season 4 of The Boys was pretty good.
Good fun.
Yeah.
Good fun. But again, there are so many.
If we're still around before the season 6. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say there's so many franchises and series that would be so much better binged, and there are so many that, like Shogun, for example, like Star Wars, that I love talking about every week.
Yeah.
But from a televisual experience, probably be better binged. I mean, I would say that. Well, I spoke about it a little bit about it last week. I mean, The Acolyte, for example, massively different experience watching it back to back. Really, really, really solid stuff. But that would screw us up. That wouldn't give us anything to talk about week on week. So it's tough. It's tough. I don't know where my loyalties lie on this. Anyway, it doesn't.
To me,
really
it's the stuff
anyway.
that, like, to me, it's the ones that, like, what I like to think about and, like, speculate. And, like, The Boys is not really one I want to go in between each week and be like, well, what ridiculous thing do you think is going to happen next week? It's like, well, I think there's going to be a guy whose superpowers, he's got a really long schlong and it strangles people. It's like, that's not, it doesn't live in my head rent free. But like Shogun, I think that's one that I think I need to sit with that more. And then Star Wars, obviously, I like to speculate.
Shogun's like a good wine. It needs to sit. It needs to, yeah.
You need to taste it. You need to taste it a little bit before you just chug it all. If we're still doing this before the final season comes out, we should do a predictions of, like, just real basic. It's like, who do we think is going to survive the end of the show? Like, yes or no? Like, and just go through each character, be like, will they make it? Will they make it? Similar to our buddy Scruffy's, but just super basic. Just characters, are they going to make it out of this?
Oh, I feel as if we've let them down. One of the things I have listened to as well is their end of season, the Acolyte true false competition that they have amongst themselves this week, and it's very, very funny. And I feel sorry for Dave Strutt. I really do, having to corral those four buggers together. But it is really, really funny. And the long and short of it, to give folks the premise, they start each season with asking each other a bunch of questions as to what they speculate will happen in the upcoming season. And they all vote whether that will be true or false. And at the end of the season, their buddy Dave Strutt comes in and establishes who got the most true or false answers correct. And it's just a good laugh. It really is a good laugh. And as normal, it's part of the Scruffy's tradition, and it's a good listen. It really is. Recommend it.
Check them out at scruffypod.com.
So, Deadpool and Wolverine. You went, I think, a day before me.
I went to the first showing that we had at our theater. It was like 1 p.m. on Thursday or Friday. And this doesn't really relate to the movie, but I will give a silent clap to the marketing and all of that for this movie. Normally in my little mountain theater, when I go to premieres, I am the only person, if not one of two people, who are in that theater for like the 1 p.m. shows, matinee shows. My theater was half full.
Oh, wow.
There were people just like, and I'm not used to that. That's what I like about my junky little theater. It's like I can go in there and I can put my feet up on the handrails and just, who cares? Because I'm the only person there. I had people like close to me, like talking to me during the and it was like, what is going on? Why are there so many people here? And I will say also, because I remember I complained about previews for the Phantom Menace because I went to the other theater like down the hill. My showing started at 1 p.m. They're like, it was supposed to start at 1, and so there was one preview, and then the movie immediately started. The Marvel credits thing, the Marvel's credit logo, or the logo thing, was spun up at 1:04. I'm like, this is awesome. Let's go. I do not have an hour and a half of previews. I just had to rub that in for everybody who has to deal with a lot of previews. I love my little tiny movie theater with bad sound.
We went a day or so after you, and we had a good half hour, 45 minutes of Pepsi, commercials, and then followed by a bunch of trailers for stuff that we'd already seen, like Borderlands, Aliens. I gotta say that Aliens Romulus looks really, really good. Anyway, Alien Romulus, sorry, and other things as well. But what about the film itself, buddy? What did you think?
I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so clarify. Spoilers ahead. If you don't,
oh yeah. Sorry,
if
guys.
you haven't seen this, I'm not gonna withhold spoilers. It's full on.
Yeah,
we'll
now. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week. We're not gonna mince our words now. We're gonna talk about the whole thing.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the film. Is it one that I'm gonna put on over and over and over again? No, probably not. But I don't do that with the other Deadpools. I will be honest. My favorite part of the movie was during the credits where they had the homage to all of the Fox, the stuff that came from Fox before. Because man, they spent half that movie shitting on Fox and all of the previous films.
I was in floods, mate. I was in floods of tears. I thought it was amazing, that part.
Yeah. And they didn't leave anybody out. They didn't leave any of the franchises out. Like it was complete. And it's like at first I thought it was like a paying homage to Hugh Jackman. But then it started going into everything else. It's like, no, it was really kind of like paying homage to all of the previous films, no matter what their quality was or anything like that. Even like Dark of the Phoenix saga stuff. It's like, whoa, they got a shout out. That's pretty impressive. But no, I thought it was really classy. I thought it was really well done. In terms of the movie, the villain stole the show. Cassandra Nova. I thought she was brilliant. I've never seen her in something, that actress, but fantastic. I love it. I mean, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, like, you know what you're getting from them. Like, you know the kind of story in the movie. But the way they took this, I was not expecting TVA to be that much of a thing. But I thought the movie went really well and it made sense. But that's kind of my high level.
So couple of things. You do know what you're going to get with Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. I mean, their bromance is pretty much publicized daily. But good God, I thought they worked their asses off. It would have been very, very easy for them to have kind of relaxed into a very flippant or rather ambivalent attitude when approaching this film, and I thought they worked their nuts off. I thought they did a really, really good job. Hugh Jackman in particular, I thought, God, you love this character. And I know you've had enough, but you love this character. And I thought that the way that Ryan Reynolds gave his friend the opportunity to really shine, I thought was pretty damn amazing. You're right about the Nova. Come on, what's her name?
Cassandra Nova.
Cassandra Nova. You're absolutely right about her stealing the show, albeit I thought a more powerful antagonist was actually the guy from
TVA?
The British guy that was from the TVA. I can't remember his name.
I just remember him
again
from, what's it called?
Deliciously pompous.
Oh God, what's that? The stupid movie that was on HBO for a long time that everybody really loved. About the family. It doesn't matter. The family.
Yeah.
But owning the company.
Anyway,
Tom.
We'll look at it while we're talking about. But yeah, I mean, he's
Succession.
Yeah, I thought he was deliciously pompous and just a complete arsehole. And I thought him as a protagonist was really quite cool. I really enjoyed it. I was expecting it to be really MCU heavy. I was really expecting it to be MCU heavy. I was expecting it to be, and I think like most people, when the first time you see the first time you see, I'm trying to get the guy's name. I'm trying to multitask because I'm not doing a very, very good job of it. But the first time you start seeing people like
Chris Evans.
Matthew McFadden is Mr. Paradox. Sorry. Yeah, going back to that. Yeah, Chris Evans, the first minute you think of Chris Evans, it's like, yay, it's Cap. And of course, he played Johnny Storm.
So fun. So funny.
Really, really good. Really, really good. And then after that, were the cameos excessive? Yeah, but were they delicious? Abso-frigging-lutely. It was so overt and so gluttonous. It was fantastic, and it was done really, really tastefully. What I loved about this whole film was that, while the TVA and maybe one or two elements of it was kind of I wouldn't say a nod to the MCU, but the MCU was there in that this was the universe that was tempting Deadpool in the first place. The rest of it was a beautiful homage to those films, to those Fox films, and it was just.
It didn't beat you over the head with the cameos. Like there were some that were like Blade and Elektra who were like proper send-offs for certain characters of like and Daphne Keene. I thought having Daphne Keene back was as the X-23 was really cool. But then like it was mixed well with like ridiculous stuff like Henry Cavill as Wolverine, and then freaking Gambit was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. It was like Channing Tatum. It's like I can't tell if he's trying to do a French accent or if they're being like ironic about it. But like they're being really.
Come on. I mean, there was the big beard guy, the big beard guy at the beginning with the shaved head. Yeah. He delivered a line in Deadpool 2, and Ryan Reynolds Deadpool breaks the fourth wall, and it's like, dude, no more lines for you. You delivered that really, really badly. And they continued that bit into this film, and then to add on top of that, you've got this what would have been casting of Gambit that never happened, and hence the reason why when he says when they talk about more adventures, and he said something along the lines of adventures that I could have had, everything could have been, because of course he was cast as Gambit at some point, but it never actually made its way on the silver screen, because of course they sold out to Disney. So I thought it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
The fact that they never let up on the joke, or like that he never stopped just being full ridiculous as like Cajun Gambit, like I just thought it was the funniest thing ever, because at some point I thought it was going to be like, okay, he's going to get like a cheesy death, like cheesy Gambit, but it's like they just had him be that ridiculous, or kind of like the Henry Cavill as Wolverine thing, where it's like, okay, it's here and it's gone. Like no, they kept him around and they had him be full blown Gambit, just 110%. I'm like, oh, they're rolling with it. Like, okay, this is hilarious. Just like the Johnny Storm, like, no, this is what he said, yada yada yada. Then it's like you thought he was Deadpool, like lying. Then at the after credits scene, they're like, no, they actually had Chris Evans say that whole spiel. And it's like, oh my god, it's like just doubling down on some of the stuff I thought was really well done.
I mean, is it the most complex and what's the word I'm thinking of? Complex and thought-provoking plot? Hell no. Hell no way. No way at all. Was it an absolute blast? Yeah, I had a really good time. And ironically, I'd heard some of our friends, if I'm, I'll call it out when I see it. Some of our friends whose opinion I really respect were a little bit lukewarm about the whole thing. They weren't. I mean, we tend to socialize with people whose opinion we respect, and because they're typically good and objective opinions. Some people loved it. Some people were a little bit, it's all right. It's not the best. So I was going in, perhaps not knowing what I was going to see, but I had a thoroughly good time. And most importantly, Lucy was with me. We had some popcorn. She was laughing. And when she has a good time watching a film that I want to watch, then it makes it so much better for me. So, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I had a really good time, man.
I like that it didn't try to like it was I kind of went in with the idea that like this is a buddy movie that is really meant to kind of capstone a friendship and Hugh
Yeah.
Jackman's kind of experience in some of these other things. And I was very pleasantly surprised of how it turned out and like in how well it did in those. I did not go in with the expectation that this was going to be the big introduction of the X-Men into the MCU. Like I didn't tie all that other stuff to it. And maybe that's why I
Mm.
enjoyed it so thoroughly. It's like it did progress like the MCU narrative a little bit. Like I was surprised at how much of the like Loki TVA, whatever the
Yeah.
hell it's called, the dumpster
I mean, we
land
saw.
area. Like, it didn't. You didn't need all of that. Like, it was really focused on, hey, this
Yeah.
is paying homage. There's a little bit in there, but it's not heavy-handed.
I mean, we saw the, you know, not that we ever needed it. We never needed a universe or a medium or a we never needed a franchise where earlier iterations of that franchises needed to coexist.
Hmm.
You know, we've seen remakes, rehashes, reboots, and we will until the day I die. But the point being is that they started the idea of acknowledging some really good work that had happened before with the in Spider-Man in No Way Home, and they
Hmm.
introduces Andrew Garfield and uh,
Toby.
come on, Toby Maguire into this story, which I thought was really really compelling, and that kind of thought, yeah, that's nice. It's a really nice nod
It's
to some
validation.
really good story. Yeah, some stories that I really enjoyed. They didn't need to do it though. You just didn't.
Yeah.
You just don't need to do it. It's a reboot. It's how many times in the comic in comic books do they rewrite, they say, okay, that's enough of that story, let's just reboot the whole thing, starting from their origin story all over again, and then all over again 10 years from there, and then all over again 10 years from there. So they didn't need to do it, but I respected the fact that they did it. What I really respected about this film was that they did it again for everything else. Do you understand what I mean? It's like for
For stuff
everything
that
else.
really got shit on, for stuff that was
Yeah,
some
yeah,
of it was
yeah. But also the
very, very
original. I
bad.
mean,
Yeah.
no, but also acknowledging the original X-Men films. The original X-Men
Yeah.
films for me was in many ways the very very first superhero movies that I really paid attention
Well,
to.
we wouldn't have
Um,
any of this stuff if it wasn't for those
no,
movies.
that's
As
right. That's
as much
right.
as we look
And
back on
again,
them like, oh, those weren't
they
great. Like we wouldn't be here
they
without
didn't
those.
exactly, but they didn't have to do it. But the character that they chose to be the platform or the vehicle for paying homage to these, in many cases, iconic films was flipping Deadpool. It's like
Yeah.
it's not Wolverine himself. It's not Charles Xavier. It's not
Mhm.
it's not it's not anyone. It's not any of the, should we say, premium um,
Mhm.
PG-13 PG-13 characters. It's Deadpool, and I thought that was really really clever and really quite beautiful. I guess the only thing that I did find a little bit jarring was his relationship with um, his love. I know I know time has passed, um, but the fact that his relationship with,
That was a
what's her name?
weird the
Is it
way
Vanessa? No, not Vanessa. What's her name? Yeah,
Maria
Vanessa.
Baccarin.
Yeah. But no, I'm thinking of a character. It's Vanessa. I thought that the fact that love really, their love between them was what made Deadpool defy all laws in at the end of Deadpool 2, for them to have kind of fallen out of love and her to have already moved on with somebody at work. I found that a little bit jarring, a little bit, but I guess it gave him purpose in the end to kind of
So
look
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
something to do,
I didn't like
and
it
to
when I
prove
watched
his
it.
worth.
Yeah.
But I didn't like that. I didn't like the. I mean, obviously, an awful lot of the influence an awful lot was being suggested to him by Cassandra was her suggestion and not reality.
Mhm.
But the fact that there was even the smallest possibility of Vanessa wanting more from him
Mhm.
after what he'd risked in the previous movie, I thought that was a bit weird.
I didn't like it at first. Like when I first watched the movie, I was like, I was really hoping for more closure. Like I wanted that happy ending. But the longer I've sat with it, the more it's like
Yeah.
we have so many superheroes who are a singular. They have a singular purpose and a singular drive of like I've got to get my love back. And Deadpool was kind of cast into that light of like I'm only in it because of this love of my life, whatever. Um, and I kind of like the more time I've sat with it, the more I'm like, you know what? I like that him and Wolverine kind of found that purpose together, and I think that's what they were going for. Of like,
Hmm.
I don't have to be a singular trope, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and then you kind of have that opportunity at the end where it's like, I did it for you. You have that honesty where he's very clear of like, oh, I did it for you. And
Mm.
maybe this will be more, but like we are on different terms now instead of like, oh, you owe me, I have to get back to you. I'm doing this for you all about love. And I'm guaranteed a seat at the table again. It's like she had the
Mm.
freedom to move on because once again, that's not his original Vanessa, for if I'm correct. Like he went to the different universe, yada yada yada, did all this other stuff.
Oh, I thought he just simply went back in time
Oh, did it? Is that what it
and stopped
was?
the event. Yeah, it was. It wasn't multiverse then. It was time because it was Cable's. It was Cable's
Yeah,
time
he went. Okay,
traveling
that's right. But it's
device.
like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
but there was
that's.
still a difference. Like the tables, it was an uneven playing field because he had all
I
the
see what you mean.
memories where he had the
Oh, of
relationship and
course. Yeah,
she didn't
yeah,
have
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
And so it's
Yeah,
like
okay, okay.
there is an unfairness there of like, hey, we fall in love. Like what?
It's a
Oh,
bit
it's like
like
it's
it's a bit like
Guardians,
what you're saying is it's a little bit like Guardian with Star Lord and with
Gamora.
oh Gamora with Gamora. Yeah,
Where it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it
I'm
is
with you.
fair, and I like that they kind of didn't go down that same path of like, oh, I'm trying to force it on you, and then I'm going to learn that way. It's like they kind of eased back on it a little bit. It's like, no, she has her independence, and like she's not on the same playing field.
Yeah.
And he learns that sooner. He doesn't like beat her over the head with it. It's no, I found my friend. I found my friend. We've That's what's important. And hey, you know what? I did it for you, but we can figure this out. And I thought that was a I don't know. The more I sit with it, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it didn't give me the huggy feely kissy oh my god everything's perfect and it's all happy closure end, but I like
Yeah.
the more I kind of sit with it.
Yeah, there's another couple of snippets that I really enjoyed. Rob Delaney as Peter. I love the fact that they fought and fought and fought and fought and fought and fought and fought against the Deadpool army, um, and the fact that they adored Peter,
And
and
now
it
that's
basically
all it took to stop it.
diffuse. That's all it took to diffuse the situation. I thought was hilarious. I thought again, Channing Tatum as Gambit. I thought he did a really good job. I'd like to think that it was they agreed. You've got to put on the cheesiest French accent you possibly can um, to make this work. I loved the wink to the I love the wink to the trolls and the fan base with Henry Cavill being
Yeah.
part of that as well. I thought that was really really funny. And does it mean anything? Probably not, but I thought it was really funny. And if it does mean something, then great. Um, I also thought that the Trinity in Blade, Elektra. Sorry, who was the other one? Blade, Elektra,
X-23.
and no, there was 4. Come on, there was 4 of them. Yeah. Sorry. Let me just. Yeah, it was. Let's call the 4th Johnny Storm. But yeah, I thought that Blade and Elektra, with Wesley and Jennifer, that was really good. I thought that the comment about Daredevil being killed and Elektra not being that bothered about it, I thought that was quite subtle, but very, very tongue in cheek. Obviously, with a relationship with Ben Affleck. But yeah, I thought that was quite funny. I thought it was really, really well done, and it wasn't gratuitous. And I don't mean gratuitous as in violence. It wasn't gratuitous in your face, breaking the fourth wall and winking to the crowd. Hey, do you remember this? That was really, really good. Really, really good. I had a really good time.
The Sabretooth fight was hilarious to me. Like, because
Yeah.
I remember leading up to it, everybody's like, I hope we get a real Sabretooth fight. And then even commented on it like, oh my God, people have been waiting for this forever. And it was very Obi-Wan Maul death at the end.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just like, zoop,
exactly.
And it's like, whoop. Guess that's where where we are, and all the Mad Max kind of theming and just kind of talking about like, whoa, we can't be too on the nose, but like,
yeah,
I bet
exactly.
I just want to be in the room with like Ryan Reynolds and like the legal department of like what can we get away with? Like, do we need to get permission from Fox? Like, because that there was some stuff where they probably like did run it by. We're like what?
Oh, they're massive. I don't know if you stayed for the. I'm assuming you stayed for the post credits.
Yeah.
But if you did stay for the post credits, there was a huge amount of thanks to the Fox crew. Huge amount of thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, they went overboard with that. I mean, yes, it's taking the piss, but it's done with so much love. Yeah. It really is done with so much love. Oh goodness, that's where I know her from. So, okay, so the lady that plays Cassandra Nova is Emma Corrin, and she recently got a Grammy for her depiction of Princess Diana in The Crown. I don't know if you guys watched The Crown. That's where I knew her from somewhere, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together. She's a good actress, really, really good actress.
Yeah, she crushed it. I loved her depiction and just the way she phrased things, like where you thought it was going to be the end, like where they had her like with the helmet on, with the Juggernaut helmet on, and you're like, and just the way out of that, I thought that was a good false ending, and just so much growth and stuff came from that. I thought that was really good, and just her powers were freaking insane. I loved every minute of it.
Fair play, mate. She's only been going for what's that? For what year are we in? She's only been going for 6 years. She's really good. Anonymity. Yeah, no. She's done really, really well. Yeah, 6-7 years she's been going. Fair play to her.
Do you think we'll get more Deadpool movies, or do you think this is the end?
Well, I don't know, because unless he finds a way of finding himself in other universes via his connection with the TVA, he's back in his own universe. He's not in the same universe as the MCU. So I don't know. I have no idea. I would have thought so.
Do you want more? Okay, 2 questions. Do you want more Deadpool movies? And 2, do you want him to end up at all in, like, I don't know what the MCU one is, like 616? Do you want him do you want him to make a cameo in the other movies?
Yes and no. So yes, do I want more Deadpool movies? Yeah, I'll take a Deadpool movie. Do I want him to team up? Do I want him to be in a team up in an Avengers moment? No, I don't. And there's a reason for that. I don't think that really strong superhero movies.
He's not a good background character.
Well, well, there is that, but also the characters themselves don't work in a team up environment. If I think about the way that Star-Lord is in the Avengers movies, he's so much better as part of Guardians of the Galaxy and in their own films. And in fact, the whole
Yeah.
cast. So the whole cast. You know, you think about you think about all of them. There's something about a team up movie, whether it's screen time or simply being written by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, the Avengers movies. What was that? The Russo brothers. And
Yeah.
you've got, oh, sorry, the last Avengers movie is the Russo brothers, and then you've got Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn. James Gunn can really write for these guys, and I don't. It felt very different when they were buddying up with Thor and Iron Man and the rest of them.
Like you're mixing friend groups. It doesn't always work.
They tried to keep the douchery. They tried to keep the douchery of Guardians of the Galaxy, but it didn't feel. There's something about the way it felt. It didn't feel right. So yeah, to answer your question, roundabout way as always. Andy, verbose as always. Would I like a Deadpool movie? Yep. Do I think him and Wolverine can keep it going? Yep. Do I want to see him in an ensemble? No, thank you.
I think I'm in the same. I'm in the same thing. I don't want to see them mix with the rest of the MCU. And I feel about more Deadpool, like I kind of feel like I did with like the last Toy Story movie, where it's like, I'm okay if this is the end. If they announce another one, there better be a freaking compelling reason. Besides just dragging it on. Like this feels like a good closure point. But if you're like, oh, don't just do it just to make money, like, oh, we're gonna bring him back and now he's gonna be, palling around again with the dog and the other whatever. Like there needs to be a valid reason to bring him back for a Deadpool 4 and not just because I feel like it was a very good closure moment, like especially there at the end when like it's all of his friends.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I'd agree with that.
Wolverine kind of is able to walk off into the distance. Like I would even be okay if Wolverine was done. Like even if they didn't bring back Cavill or anybody else, it's like if you just said these two are off the table, like because I struggle with like bringing X-Men in and trying to mix them ensemble with everybody else. Like,
well, I don't see how that universe. So in my limited brain capacity, I understood that the Wolverine in Deadpool's universe or Deadpool's Earth was the one we saw in Logan that had died, and then there the Wolverine that we see basically was in a different universe, and things got a bit fucked up. And then what happened was he then kind of joins Deadpool's universe and is like, I don't know, just a new Wolverine, but albeit the same person, but a different person in the Deadpool universe. There's still no connective tissue between. Well, there's still nothing to connect Deadpool's universe, which is still essentially a Fox universe. Let's not forget, with the MCU. So they'll have to work it out. They'll have to work it out. So if they are gonna, I'd like to think that if they're gonna do it, they do it tastefully, I guess, or tactically. I don't know. I don't know. I want more of it, but I also think that closing a door on the multiverse would be a good thing as well at some point.
Yeah, I think that I agree that there needs to be an end. I don't think that end is coming anytime soon. Because I think that's how Fantastic Four is coming.
We're talking spoilers. So I never got to see season 2 of Loki. Did you?
I've seen half.
Ah, shit. Okay, fine.
Because it's
it's
a bit heady, like it because I think it really kind of doubles into this like, hey, guess what, everybody, the TVA is here and it's not going away, and you need to like, it's kind of that filler stuff of like, here's some of the concepts and how it works, more branching, more this. How do we what's the prime unit, like what's the prime universe, what are the tertiary things.
Because
Like it's
if you don't mind talking about it, I don't mind talking about it. But my understanding was at the end of season 2 of Loki was he was holding the universes together. That's his that you know that he was his purpose in life going forward was to kind of bring order to the timelines by literally physically holding, a bit like Charles Atlas, you know,
mhm.
physically holding the timelines together. Um, but I guess yeah, you're right. It could be, but maybe I'm making that up, or maybe I've misunderstood what the ending was. We probably should watch it.
I
Um,
think that I think the
anyway,
TVA stuff is gonna hope. I don't think we're gonna get away from that until at least the end of whatever this big phase is. Like those
right.
Avengers movies, Secret Wars and Doomsday. Because I think that's how Doomsday's coming in. I think that's how Fantastic Four get brought over into
Oh, from their universe. Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah. Okay.
they're in retro time. And so they're gonna if they're gonna get
Yeah.
brought into any of this stuff, the TVA and all that stuff is critical to all that kind of stuff. And that's gonna be batshit insane. Like how they're gonna bring that over and all these other things. Like I hope they've got a hard task ahead of them of like how they mix all of this multiverse stuff and try to keep the casual viewer
It's tough,
engaged.
isn't it? Did you read Secret War as a kid?
No, I will.
No,
I
I mean,
will. I've
it's
been on the Marvel wiki and read that, but I've not read the actual comics of it.
okay. See, I never did either. But my understanding was that it was it was it was still the same universe. So yeah, you've
Mm.
got this Avengers moment, but as with all of a lot of Marvel stuff, X-Men, Avengers, Fantastic Four, if it suits the story, can coexist in the same universe at any one time. They don't really get into the idea of of the multiverse, or so I understand. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I remember when I was grazing as a kid. I didn't really go down the Marvel route. That's the problem. As a
I
kid,
will say.
Batman was my one and
I
only.
will say. I will say. I am. This is slight, kind of on the same topic. I'm very excited for the new Captain America movie. I don't know if you saw the panel, but they were talking about how this is
Yeah,
kind of
really
going
good.
back, how they're going back to more of the Captain America Civil War and Winter Soldier, which are like my two, probably my top two. And they're like, oh, it kind of goes back to that more of that vibe. And it's like, I am,
Winter
you've got
Soldier
me
is
in
a
a
work
seat.
of art.
Oh, I love it.
Winter Soldier, Civil War. It's good, and then it starts that ramp of the fantastical. So when you start, they're starting to buddy up. They're starting to take sides.
Yeah.
Ant-Man becomes gigantic. It's kind of like whereas Civil War, sorry, not Civil War. Whereas Winter Soldier in particular is really grounded, really, really grounded on it. It's a really
Winter
good
Soldier
story.
is the masterpiece, and Civil War to me is just like the cherry on top. That's like
Yeah,
you made Winter Soldier better by making a whole movie about why Winter Soldier was so good, and then you now you've introduced Iron Man, and it's just all of this. Oh, it's there's those two
you know what we
are
should do.
so
You
good.
know, you know what we should do. Yeah, they are. They're really, really good. That and Captain America, the original Avenger. That I love that film because again, it's kind of a new take on history. I freaking
Yeah,
love that. I love that. That is it meant to be a trilogy? But that trilogy for me is my favorite of all of them.
that's
Um,
those are the ones that made me fall in love
however,
with the Marvel because
however,
before I was like meh beforehand. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. However, it's not my always my. I mean, we talked about it last week. My go tos, sorry, are always Spider Man. Grew up as a kid. Um, Spider Man, Galaxies, and sorry, Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool. But yeah, in terms of my favorite, well crafted,
hmm
in terms of the art, shall we say, the
yeah.
art. Those three films in particular, I thought were absolutely phenomenal. You know what we should do? And we should actually on with cap in hand and on bended knee go to someone like King Tom and find out what the hell we're talking about, because I'm making half this shit up and I've got no idea. And he's the absolute aficionado when it comes down to this stuff. But no, it was all in all, a good film. I really, really enjoyed it. I would say it'll be on repeat in my house every 6 months or so for a while, and I'd say I'd give it a 8 out of 10.
Same.
What about
I'd give it
yourself?
I think I'd give it
Bearing in mind that I've
eight.
just made this up.
I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10, knowing similar to what like the latest High Potion where they're rating old retro games. It's like 8.5, 9 out of 10 with the context of what it is. It's like it is a semi-isolated movie, the three of a trilogy, but also the intersection into the MCU. It is not Citizen Kane. It is not the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It is not that, but it is for what it is, and within that context, I would say 8.5, 9. I had a really good time. Is it perfect? No. But is it acknowledged that it's not perfect? I think 100%. Did they get a lot done in the time that they had? I'm baffled at the story arc that they were able to get in, plus all the crap that comes into it too, and the 45-minute fight scene at the beginning. I'm like, dude, is this movie gonna start? And it's like, they get a lot into it, and I think it is a masterpiece in editing and knowing when to cut. Like if they came out with a director's cut of like, this is 3.5 hours long, it's like, it would not surprise me. But they edited it down to whatever 2 hours or whatever that it was. 8.5, 9.
Oh, you've just reminded me of something. On Friday, my birthday, our buddy Zack Snyder is releasing his 3-hour epic of part 1 of Rebel Moon.
Are you going to watch it?
I have to do it. I have to do it for you. I have to do it for our friends. I feel as if I'm doing a public service. So yes, on Sunday.
Okay, Prometheus.
I think I'm planning out some time whereby I'll have a bunch of beers and I'll sit and I'll walk through it, because I have to say, despite all the BS that goes with it, I have to say, Justice League, the second version or the director's cut, was significantly better than the original, which begs the question, why can't you release the original in the first place? But anyway, we are where we are.
Here, are you ready for this? Here's some honesty.
Go on.
I cannot stand anything Zack Snyder's done. Like it is, I just can't. I can't do it. Like I'll try. Okay. I will try to do Rebel Moon. Like I know you talked about it before.
No.
But it's like, oh my god.
I have a mate. This is for me.
Oh, that's right.
This is not for.
I have 6 episodes of Time Bandits to watch.
That's true.
I'll do that. I'll do that instead.
But the point I'm trying to make is that good God,
you're invested. So you're going to do the 3.
No. I'm just. I've got a perverse curiosity. I've got a really perverse curiosity to because his supporters love him. And for what I understand, the guy is actually a really, really good guy. He's actually a really, really nice guy. However, like you, it's a bit like Michael Bay. I don't necessarily warm to their filming, editing and writing style. But I've got this perverse curiosity in me at the moment that just to find out if there is as much of a significant difference, because apparently there is. The original was meant to be PG-13, and this is R-rated. There's a lot more blood and guts in it, and there's a lot more content that was missing from the original that made it PG-13. So, yeah, I'm gonna give
the whole movie's in slow-mo now.
Gander. That's a bit long on the tooth, isn't it? No, I was just looking at Box Office Mojo, and good God, Deadpool and Wolverine first weekend. We are first weekend? So it released last Thursday, last Friday, and we're not even a week later, and it's already pulled 496 million globally. 235 domestic, 260. 236 domestic, 260 international. Yeah, 496 million.
So,
That's
so I don't know.
really
I don't know
good.
anything about like numbers or box office or how that stuff like works. But it's like if I had to guess with zero knowledge, it's like I feel like that's gonna cliff. Like it's not. It doesn't feel like it's a movie that you're gonna see a lot of times. Like it doesn't have staying.
Maybe not.
I don't know.
Maybe not.
But I have literally zero. Like you could tell me it's a. If you say billion, I'm like that's a lot. But if you're like, oh, it's 400 million, I'm like, is that good? I think that's good. That's really good. But I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how little context I have.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
I'm just looking at the China. I'm just looking at the China numbers at the moment because that's a big thing. Having a global.
Here's an open question for anybody who knows. Does the humor of Deadpool translate well to other cultures? I don't know.
Don't know, man. No idea.
We're
24
asking
million
hard-hitting
in
questions
China.
with no answers.
Yeah, what we do, man. It's what we do. Anyway, yes, all good, and we have. God, we've broken the 2-hour barrier again. God, we're the best.
1.5
mate. Thank you very much for talking to me today. I needed this break in my week.
Me too.
And I really, really enjoyed it. And we should talk about what we're going to do for next week. But certainly, I want to look up Time Bandits. Certainly, if you're into it, I think we do. We'll take it offline. But Cobra Kai as well. I've only just started. If you want to catch up on that as well, if you're into that kind of stuff, or not.
I feel like I'm talking to Madison right now. She's like, "You want to go for a hike?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go for a hike." She's like, "Do you want it to be a 25-mile hike?" It's like, well, wait a minute, whoa. And then we drive there, and then it's a mile from the parking lot to the trailhead, and it's like next thing you know, it's a 35-mile hike. It's like, whoa, I agreed to a hike.
Let's stick to Time Bandits. Okay, no problem. All right, buddy. Well, thank you very much again, and thank you to everyone for listening to us prattling on. And I'm sorry again if I've talked.
Happy early birthday, Andy! Woohoo!
And I'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Happy early birthday, Andy. Thanks for listening to
Sean,
us talk forever.
Take us out, mate.
Bye. Thanks for everybody. Go to
justsean.com. Whoa. We've done it too quick. Where can people find us, Sean?
justsean.com. Go there. Leave us a voicemail or don't. Or listen to other stuff. Go listen to other cool stuff. Hey, we have another cool episode coming out soon. Maybe. I don't know. We're hoping to record it about hobby stuff. Wish Andy happy birthday on all social media. Thanks.
And that's why we earn the big bucks.
Bye.